How many of you out there are broke more often than not? We're going to talk about that and how you can fix that. Hey, everybody, welcome to Real Estate Revenue. I'm your host, Paul Airy, and I want to talk about being broke. I've been there a lot myself, and I'm sure most of you out there have been broke at one time or another. And maybe you are now. Maybe you're broke more often than you're not broke. That seems to be the way of most people these days. And there's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about how to fix it. First, in order to talk about how to fix it, we need to talk about what's causing it. Aside from the fact that some of you may have lost your jobs, that'll definitely make you broke if you're not prepared for it. But we're going to talk about the system involved in your lives that makes you broke and keeps you broke because it's not the amount of money that you make totally. Uh, can be the amount of money you make if you don't make very much. But the thing is, I know people that make, half a million, $1 million a year, and they're broke. And there's a reason for it. It's very simple. Don't know that anyone has ever thought about this before. I'm sure they have. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the originator of this idea, but here's how I came about it. How many of you have heard the old saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? I bet most of you have heard that throughout your entire lives. My mother used to say that all the time. I didn't always believe it. And uh, unfortunately, she was using it as a way to explain our financial problems because we weren't rich. And most people use that as a way to blame rich people for them being poor. Now, I'm here to tell you it's not their fault that you're poor or broke. Rich people did not make you poor or broke. There's not some rich conspiracy to make poor people and keep poor people poor or to make people go broke. They really don't care if you get rich along with them. I'm sure they would love to have you get rich along with them. In fact, most of the people in the world, I would say 80 to 90%, I believe, are the numbers that I read last on this, where 80 to 90% of the people who are wealthy, considered to be rich or wealthy in the world, were not that way to start off with. They were poor and broke. They had to figure it out and figure out a way to make themselves uh, become wealthy. They built their wealth and they figured out the way to do it. Now, I'm going to have to get a little nerdy here and talk about math and physics. And I have done an episode on this before on the audio podcast. Don't believe I've done it for the video podcast version. So the audio people are going to get it again. And the YouTube channel will get this mostly for the first time. Here it is. So I have a physics background, and our company name is Momentum Lifestyle Network. Now, momentum is very important in everything. You hear people talk about momentum in sports, you hear them talk about it in sales, in business. It is important in everything we do. We always need to build momentum. Momentum is what keeps us going. It's what gets us going in the right direction and keeps us moving that way and increasing speed, increasing our momentum. And I was thinking about one day our company name, and uh, John Maxwell wrote a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And one of those laws had to do with momentum. And he described a train. If you have a train that's sitting still on the tracks, you can go put wood blocks in front of that train and it won't be able to move because it has no momentum. Now, if you have a train that's moving, you can put a 5 foot thick steel reinforced concrete wall on the tracks and the train will smash right through it and won't stop. And that's because it has momentum. So, what does that have to do with you being broke? I was thinking about the equation for momentum. There is an equation for momentum, and it's very simple. It's high school physics. Momentum of an object is equal to the mass of the object times its velocity. It occurred to me that we can apply that to money. And the reason it occurred to me was I heard someone apply Parkinson's law to money. Parkinson's law states that if you are given a task and a time to do it in, the task will take that amount of time. So if you're given a task to complete, if you're given 10 days for it, it'll be a 10-day task. If you're only given 2 days for it, it'll magically become a 2-day task. You're just going to fill up the time allotted with the job to do, that you have to do. And money is the same way. If you increase your income, your expenses will rise to meet your income. So that's part of why a lot of people are broke. You make $1 million a year, your expenses are going to rise to meet that $1 million a year income usually. People just tend to spend what they have, right? But there's some math involved in this. And here it is. It's what I just told you, the equation for momentum. Now, let's say instead of the momentum of an object, let's say the momentum of your finances are equal to the mass of your money or your assets times its velocity or its rate of return. So if you have $1 million, that's your that's the mass of your money, of your assets. And if you invest that money into an investment, say real estate, say a building, and it gives you a 10% return, that's your velocity. You're chugging along at $100,000 a year from that $1 million investment. The mass stays the same, the velocity stays the same, but you have that momentum. You are moving in that direction. Now, here's the thing: as you every year, as you make $100,000, if you were to put that 100,000 back into your mass pile over here, then your mass is going to grow. When that mass grows, your momentum is going to grow. If the velocity stays the same and the mass grows, your momentum is going to grow. If the mass stays the same, but your return on that investment grows, if your rate of return, your velocity grows, the same result. Momentum will grow. So how does that apply to being broke? I think I've just told you how it applies to being rich or how it applies to being wealthy. How does it apply to being broke? It can go the other direction as well. If you have a lot of bills, a lot of debt, let's say you make 100,000 a year and you have every bit of it spent on house payment, car payments, credit card debt, food, gas, electricity, water, all those utilities, all those bills that you have every month. If all of that goes to paying those bills, you have no momentum. And the biggest culprit in sucking the momentum out of your finances usually is going to be debt. It's usually going to be credit card debt more than anything, but it can be other debt too, like cars, boats, motorcycles, all the little toys that you buy, the TVs that you buy, and those are probably going to be on credit cards. People buy furniture on credit. One of the worst ideas ever. If you're going to buy new living room furniture, by the time you pay it off, it's probably going to be worn out and you're going to still owe money on it. I know people that have done this. They wear out their couch and their chairs, and they still owe money on it when it's sitting out by the curb waiting for the the trash collectors to come pick it up. And they have a new set of living room furniture, and they've bought that on credit. And this it's just going to keep going, and that's how it does with cars. Cars have gotten so expensive; you have to finance them for so long now to be able to afford a car that, and now with interest rates going up, it's even worse. By the time you wear that car out and you're ready to trade it off, it's not worth what you owe on it. You're upside down, and it's just like putting your sofa and your chairs out by the curb. You're going to lose money on it. And your credit card debt, your credit cards probably never get paid off. I'm not saying don't use credit cards. I use credit cards all the time, but we pay them off every month. We always pay our credit cards off, and we use, we're smart about credit cards that we get. We have one for our business, It's a card that's tied to Marriott, so we get hotel points, and we haven't paid for a hotel in about 2 years or 3 years. We've maybe paid 3 or 4 times, and we stay in hotels 30, 40, 50 nights a year, and, we've only paid for maybe just a handful of those. The rest of them have been with from the points that we get on our credit card. And another credit card we have has airline miles, and so we get a little bit of a benefit. I know in the long run we're probably paying for that. It's not free, but it's convenient and it's nice. But we don't pile up credit card debt. Now, what happens is you take that equation and you put the amount of money you have into the M side of that equation, into the mass, and on the right side, in the velocity side, you're paying high interest rates, and that velocity is money going out, not coming in. So that's going to go to zero. So what is anything times zero? It's zero. That's why you're broke. Your financial momentum is in the toilet. It is zero. You're bottoming out on your financial momentum. You have no momentum in your finances. It's just really simple, and it sounds simple. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy to fix. It takes some discipline and some pain and some hard work, but it can be fixed. And if you just decide to give up and not fix it, then don't blame somebody else for you being broke. Don't blame rich people that you're broke and poor. It's not their fault. I'm sorry, but it comes back on you. And once I realized it was my fault, that I could do something about it, things started to turn around. Everything changed. Everything turned around. And I was in that situation. I've been in that situation. I still occasionally find myself in a situation like that where I have to get my hands back. I have to get a good hold of my finances again and go back and rework some things to fix the problem of my momentum going down. But it's a good gauge for you. So if you just look at that equation, you don't have to be a mathematician or a physicist or anything like that. It's just a simple equation. And all you have to do is keep track of that. Look at it every now and then. Just think about it. Just sit down and think about that. You start running low on money and you think, well, why am I so low on money? Well, has your credit card debt gone up? Have you bought a new car and your car payment's higher than it should be? Grocery prices, gas prices, electricity, it's all gone up a lot. That is sucking away your momentum. The best way that I have found to actually gain financial momentum is through real estate, buying real estate investment properties, preferably commercial properties. Now, if residential is all you can do, if you love residential and that's all you want to do, then do it. It's better than not doing anything. Real estate will give you that financial momentum. It'll give you the asset, the mass side of that equation, and it'll give you the velocity side of that equation. It'll give you a return that will rescue you from being broke. I've seen so many people who had just mediocre finances. They started investing in real estate and now they always have money. They always have cash available to them. They have a much better lifestyle and they're never broke. Believe it or not, all the bad debt in their life is gone. The good debt is there, the debt that gets them an income from their investments. The bad debt goes away. It gets smaller and smaller over time. So look at real estate as a way out of being broke because that's what it does for a lot of people. And think about your financial momentum. I call this the law of financial momentum, and it can work for you and it doesn't really work against you, but it does if you let it. Your financial momentum can go to zero, it can go negative. You have to get it under control or it will control you. And so that's the that's the message I have for today. Control your finances, control your financial momentum, or it will control you. If you lose control, it will control you. So I hope you got some benefit from this. If you did, please share it with somebody and hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us get this message out to other people. If you have any comments, please leave some comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Love to hear questions. If you have any questions you'd like to see a video done on, I'd love to see those. I would be more than happy to do videos on any questions that you might have. So put those in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on Real Estate Revenue.